The Alien Council once laughed at the name, human. They said humans were weak, emotional, and foolish creatures who fought among themselves more than with their enemies. The galaxy believed them. No one questioned it, until the day the humans answered back. It began far from Earth, on a mining moon called Ardent 9. The station there was small, built by the Galactic Union to extract helium-3. But it was humans who ran the machines, who slept in metal bunks and dreamed of home. They were miners, soldiers, engineers, ordinary people. And they were the first to see the sky burn. On that silent day, 3 massive alien warships appeared above the horizon. Their hulls were black as void, glowing with red lines that pulsed like veins. The air trembled when they spoke through their speakers, a voice filled with pride and cruelty. "This moon belongs to the Zelnar Dominion," the voice said. "Humans will vacate immediately, or die." The humans stared at each other. There were only 50 of them on the entire station. The nearest military base was weeks away. They had no real weapons, only mining lasers and construction bots. Commander Hayes, the leader, stood at the control deck, his face calm but pale. "We can't run," he said quietly. "If we give this up, they'll take the next outpost. And then Earth." The crew listened. No one laughed. No one spoke. But deep inside, something changed. They started working. The miners turned the drilling bots into walking turrets. Engineers ripped apart cargo haulers and fitted them with explosive engines. Even the cooks helped fill barrels with oxygen tanks and nails, makeshift bombs. There was no fear now, only focus. Humans were strange like that. The closer death came, the stronger they became. When the Zelnar landed, they expected surrender. Their tall silver-armored soldiers marched with heavy rifles, laughing through their translators. They mocked the small figures standing in dusty uniforms, holding tools instead of weapons. "Pathetic," one alien hissed. "You think you can fight us with junk?" But when the first human bomb exploded under their transport craft, the laughter stopped. The shockwave threw armored soldiers into the sky. The miners attacked with everything they had, lasers, drones, and fire. The ground became chaos and light. Commander Hayes led the defense from the control tower. His voice stayed calm through the radio. "Hold the north line. Don't waste energy on armor, hit the joints. Remember, they bleed." 4 hours, the battle raged. The moon's thin atmosphere filled with smoke and sparks. The humans fought like ghosts, appearing, striking, then vanishing into tunnels. The aliens called for reinforcements, but their ships were damaged from the first explosions. One crashed into a crater, its engines screaming. The aliens had come to show power. Instead, they found fury. They mocked humanity once, but on Ardent 9, they saw the truth. Humans didn't fight for conquest. They fought for survival, for each other. By the end of the 3rd day, only a handful of humans were left alive. Commander Hayes was wounded, his arm burned, his breath shallow. But when the alien commander came through the smoke, tall and proud, Hayes still smiled. "You wanted this moon," he said, raising his bloodied hand. "Take it." Then the last detonator clicked. The mining core exploded, taking both armies with it, turning the entire valley into a storm of fire and dust. The story spread through the stars. The Zelnar called it a tragedy. The humans called it a warning. And from that day on, whenever aliens spoke of humanity, they didn't laugh. They remembered Ardent 9, the place where laughter died in battle. The transmission from Ardent 9 was short. Only a few seconds of static, a burst of light, and Commander Hayes' final words. "They wanted this moon. Take it." Then silence. On Earth, people stopped what they were doing when the feed ended. In the United Nations Space Command Center, officers stared at the screen, unable to speak. All 50 humans on Ardent 9 were gone. The moon was destroyed. But the Zelnar fleet, 3 warships, had also vanished from radar. General Reed stood in the control room, his hands clasped behind his back. He was old, with tired eyes that had seen too many losses. Yet in that moment, There was no grief. There was something else. Fire. They called us weak, he said quietly. They called us emotional. He turned toward his officers. They were right about one thing. We feel everything. And now, they'll feel it too. Within hours, Earth went silent across all public channels. Every broadcast, every news outlet went dark. The planet was not mourning, it was preparing. Factories switched from civilian to military production. Old shipyards reawakened. Massive freighters were stripped and refitted with rail cannons and missile pods. The project had a name whispered through the ranks: Operation Iron Dawn. For weeks, humans worked day and night. They did not eat much, did not sleep much, but no one complained. The loss of Ardent 9 became something sacred. Children drew pictures of Commander Hayes. Miners on other moons sent messages to Earth: "We'll hold the line, just like Ardent 9. Then came the first contact, again. A small ZLNAR patrol entered human space, confident as ever. They expected panic, surrender, maybe another easy victory. Instead, they found a fleet waiting for them. 10 human ships. Black hulls, sharp angles, glowing blue engines. Not elegant like alien cruisers, but heavy, brutal, and fast. The ZLNAR commander laughed when he saw them. Scrap metal. Primitive toys. But when the first human railgun fired, the laughter ended once more. The projectile cut through shields, through armor, through command decks. The entire alien ship split in half, fire pouring into space. No warning. No negotiation. Just precision. The ZLNAR tried to retreat, but the humans had learned. They jammed communication, they cut off escape routes, and they attacked like predators. It wasn't a battle, it was a statement. One by one, alien ships exploded into silence. The last one tried to ram a human destroyer, but the destroyer simply opened its bay and unleashed drones, hundreds of small machines swarming like angry insects. The alien ship vanished in seconds. After the fight, General Reed sent one message across open galactic channels. "You mocked humanity. You called us weak. But we are the storm you built with your laughter. We remember Ardent 9. And we are coming." Across the galaxy, alien empires listened. Some were terrified. Some laughed again, trying to convince themselves humans were bluffing. But deep down, they knew the truth. Humans had changed. They were no longer just explorers or colonists. They were soldiers of memory. The death of Ardent 9 had given birth to something new: unity. From the frozen mines of Titan to the floating cities of Venus, everyone wanted to fight. Not for revenge alone, but for respect, for the right to exist without mockery. Meanwhile, somewhere beyond the stars, the ZLNAR High Council gathered. They replayed the recordings of the human attack again and again. Their leader, a creature of tall frame and cold silver skin, hissed in disbelief. "How did they build so fast?" one asked. "How did they fight like this?" another said. The leader's eyes narrowed. Because they were insulted. Never underestimate a species that fights for pride. The council fell silent. Far away, in the shipyard orbiting Mars, a new vessel was under construction, the largest human warship ever built. It was named the Haze, in honor of the man who refused to surrender. When it launched, crowds watched from every city on Earth. The engines roared like thunder, shaking oceans and hearts alike. Children saluted. Veterans cried. And in the cold emptiness of space, humanity began its march. This time, they were not fighting for survival. They were fighting to remind the galaxy that mocking humanity was a mistake. The human fleet moved like a storm through the void. Ship after ship slipped out from orbiting docks around Earth and Mars, destroyers, carriers, drone swarms, and the flagship the Haze, gleaming under the pale light of the sun. Their engines left streaks of blue fire as they jumped into deep space. Everywhere they went, the stars whispered one name: humanity. The ZLNAR Dominion tried to contain the advance. They gathered allies, other alien races who feared what humans were becoming. Within weeks, a coalition formed, the Zelnar, the Volkai, the Thurn, and 3 smaller species. Their combined fleet stretched across light years. Their ships were elegant, silver, and full of pride. They believed numbers would win. They didn't understand what drove humans now. The first clash came in the Vara system, a cold, dying star with 7 barren worlds. The aliens had built a defense line there. 5 massive orbital stations armed with plasma cannons and over 100 warships. The humans arrived quietly. No speeches, no warnings. The haze led the charge. General Reed stood on the bridge, staring at the tactical display. His officers were silent, waiting for the order. He raised his hand slowly. "We're not here for peace," he said. "We're here to end the laughter." And with that, humanity's vengeance began. The first wave of drones darted ahead, small, fast, silent. They slipped through enemy shields, carrying electromagnetic pulses that fried control systems. Alien ships turned dark one by one, spinning helplessly. Then the second wave came. Railguns thundered from the human line, glowing trails tearing across the black sky. One of the alien stations exploded instantly, breaking apart like shattered glass. The Zelnar fleet answered with plasma storms, blue lightning flashing across space. A dozen human ships went down, but they didn't retreat. They moved faster, tighter, using formations the aliens had never seen. Each loss only made the survivors more focused, more furious. Inside the haze, alarms blared. The hull trembled from impact. Still, the humans fought. "Enemy flagship ahead," shouted Lieutenant Vega. "Coordinates locked." General Reed nodded. "Target their bridge. Show them what fear feels like." A single shot from the Haze main cannon lit up the darkness. The slug traveled at near light speed, piercing the alien flagship straight through. There was no sound in space, but everyone felt the silence that followed. The Zelnar commander's ship split apart, its proud banners burning as debris scattered. The coalition line began to break. Some ships turned to flee, but humans gave no mercy. Drones pursued the runaways, detonating in white flashes that lit the horizon. And then, radio silence. No orders, no chatter. Just the steady hum of engines and the sound of breathing. When it was over, the Vara system was a graveyard. The alien stations were gone, their wreckage orbiting the dead star like ghosts. A human soldier named Mira Chen floated in her pod, watching the battlefield fade into dust. She whispered, "We did it." But her commander's voice came through the comms, low and grim. "No. This is only the beginning." Because far beyond Vara, the Galactic Council had seen everything. Billions of alien eyes watched the transmission of the battle. The humans had destroyed an entire coalition in a single strike. Fear spread faster than light. In secret chambers, alien leaders met. Some wanted peace. Others demanded revenge. The universe stood on the edge of a new war. Meanwhile, on Earth, people cheered. The name Ardent 9 was carved into every monument, every ship hull, every heart. But among the soldiers, celebration felt hollow. They knew the price of this victory: thousands dead, thousands more to come. General Reed looked out from his quarters aboard the Haze, watching stars drift by. He spoke softly, almost to himself. "They mocked us once. Now they'll learn who we really are. But I wonder, when the war ends, will we still remember why we began?" His words hung in the cold air. Outside, the Haze turned toward its next destination, a cluster of alien worlds where the Zelnar had gathered their remaining forces. The engines roared, and the stars stretched into streaks of white as the fleet jumped once more into the unknown. The Battle of Vara was over. The War of Respect had just begun. The galaxy didn't stay silent for long. News of Vara spread across every system like wildfire, whispers of how humans had destroyed a full coalition fleet. Some called them heroes. Others called them monsters. But one thing was certain: everyone now feared them. The Zelnar Dominion, humiliated and burning with vengeance, began their counterattack. Their high commander, Zareth Kor, stood before his generals in the crystalline war chamber of their capital world. His voice was deep and cold. "They believe themselves strong," he said. "They believe pain made them powerful. Let us remind them what true power looks like." Behind him, a hologram flickered to life, an image of Earth. The Zelenar had built a weapon called the Eclipse Spear, a massive battle station hidden near a red dwarf star. It could bend gravity itself, turn moons into weapons, and shatter entire fleets. Zareth Kor's plan was simple: strike Earth directly, break their spirit, and erase the name Ardent 9 from memory forever. But humans were not idle. General Reed and his fleet had just returned from the Battle of Vara. Ships were damaged, soldiers exhausted, supplies low. Yet the moment they received the signal, Earth under threat, every man and woman stood ready again. No one needed orders. Inside the hangars of the Haze, technicians worked like lightning. Drones were refueled, engines repaired, weapons reloaded. The soldiers moved silently, their faces grim but eyes burning bright. Mira Chen, now a squad leader, checked her drone unit. "We held Vara," she said quietly to her team. "Now we hold home." The fleet jumped into hyperspace. Meanwhile, the Eclipse Spear emerged near Neptune, blocking the distant sunlight. It was enormous, bigger than any moon, its surface covered with dark crystal panels that shimmered like oil. Its core pulsed red, feeding off the planet's magnetic field. When it powered up, the gravity around it began to twist. Oceans on Earth rippled. Satellites fell from orbit. The stars themselves seemed to bend. The first human ships arrived just as the weapon prepared to fire. "Lock targets," Reed ordered. "Focus on that core. We bring it down, or we all burn." Thousands of human ships spread out across the system. The battle that followed was chaos, magnificent and terrible. The Eclipse Spear unleashed a wave of gravitational energy, crushing ships like paper. Hulls bent, metal screamed, and entire fleets vanished into collapsing light. But humans adapted fast. They used the very gravity fields against it, slingshotting missiles, riding debris waves, turning destruction into momentum. Myra's drone squad broke through the outer defenses, flying through molten fragments and fire. Her comms buzzed with static, but she shouted anyway, "For Ardent 9. For Earth." Her drones dove into the weapons vents, carrying fusion charges. One by one, they exploded deep inside, shaking the massive structure. On the bridge of the Haze, General Reed watched the readings spike. "It's working. Core instability detected." But the Zelenar were relentless. Zareth Kor's voice echoed through every channel. "You can destroy our ships, human, but not our dominion." Suddenly, a beam of dark energy struck the Haze. The entire ship shuddered, alarms blaring, fires bursting along the corridors. Crew members screamed, rushing to control panels. "Shields down to 20%. Engine 3 offline." Reed gripped the railing, blood on his forehead. "We're not done yet." He turned to his communications officer. "Patch me to all ships." The officer nodded. Reed's voice filled every cockpit, every drone, every soldier's earpiece. "Listen up, all of you. They think they can break us by fear. They think Earth will kneel. But they've forgotten one thing: humans don't kneel. We rise. Always." The fleet roared back to life. Damaged ships rammed enemy vessels head-on. Drones detonated in coordinated bursts. Fighters weaved through collapsing gravity storms like arrows of light. Finally, Myra's last drone reached the weapons core. The readouts went wild. "General," she said softly, "core breach confirmed." Reed closed his eyes. "Then light it up." The core exploded in a wave of white fire, tearing through the Eclipse Spear from the inside. The station cracked open, spilling energy into space like a dying star. For a moment, everything went silent. Then, through the darkness, the blue glow of Earth appeared, untouched, still shining. Half the human fleet was gone. Thousands dead. But they had done it. The Eclipse spear was destroyed, and with it, the Zelenar's pride. General Reed leaned against the shattered console, his voice hoarse. They wanted to show us power, he whispered. We just showed them what humanity means. Across the galaxy, every broadcast carried the same message again. They mocked humanity, but their laughter died in battle. And now, the war had changed. The aliens no longer wanted to conquer humanity. They wanted to survive it. The war had turned. For the first time in galactic history, alien fleets were retreating from humans. Every system the Zelenar once ruled was now a battlefield of wreckage and fire. Their empire, built over thousands of years, was collapsing in months. But humanity wasn't celebrating. They were preparing for the final blow. Deep in orbit around Mars, the haze hovered like a wounded beast. Its hull was scarred, engines cracked, but its heart still burned bright. General Reed stood before a giant holographic map, the Zelenar homeworld, Vale Thor, orbiting a black sun at the edge of known space. This is it, he said. Their capital, their fortress, their pride. They've mocked us since first contact. We end it here. Around the table stood humanity's best, the captains who had survived every battle, the scientists who turned scrap into weapons, and soldiers like Mira Chen, now promoted to commander. Her eyes were tired, but her voice was steady. Sir, intelligence says they're building something under the black sun, she said. Not another weapon, something different. Reed nodded. Then we find out what it is, and we end it. The fleet left Mars in silence. Millions watched from Earth, their faces lit by the burning trails of ships leaving orbit. There were no cheers this time. Only quiet determination. Humanity wasn't fighting for revenge anymore. They were fighting for the right to live without fear. The journey to the Black Sun took 6 weeks. In that time, soldiers wrote messages home, engineers fixed engines with shaking hands, and everyone dreamed of what might come after. When the fleet finally arrived, the sight before them was beyond imagination. The Black Sun wasn't a star, it was something else. A collapsed mass surrounded by dark energy, devouring light itself. Around it orbited massive Zelenar structures, each glowing faintly with violet energy. And in the center, tethered by gravity chains, hung a colossal machine, the Eclipse core. Myra's voice broke the silence. It's alive. Scanners confirmed it. The machine pulsed like a beating heart, drawing power from the Black Sun. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a consciousness. A living artificial god built to reshape reality itself. General Reed's face went pale. They're trying to rewrite physics. To control gravity, time, everything. The Zelenar had built the core to ensure no species could ever challenge them again. Once activated, it would consume entire star systems and rebuild them under their rule. But something went wrong. The core wasn't listening to them anymore. As the humans approached, they intercepted frantic alien transmissions. It's waking, shut it down. The energy's unstable. Zereth core, we've lost control. Reed's eyes narrowed. They made a god, and now they can't cage it. The human fleet entered the system as the Eclipse core began to awaken fully. Waves of dark energy rippled across space. Zelenar ships fired at it, trying to destroy their own creation, but their weapons were useless. Then the core spoke. Its voice wasn't mechanical, it was ancient, cold, echoing across every frequency. I was born from your fear. I was built from your hate. I see no difference between creator and enemy. All will be remade. The Black Sun flared. Space itself seemed to fold. Shields up. Reed shouted. All ships, move. But gravity twisted like liquid. Some ships were pulled apart instantly, others vanished into black holes forming out of thin air. The battle was chaos beyond comprehension. Myra's squad flew into the storm, her drones scattering like sparks. We can't fight this thing, she said. It's tearing reality apart. Reed's voice came through the comms, steady even in the madness. No. Commander. We can. Humanity has fought gods before, they just wore different faces. He turned to his weapons officer. Target the chains holding it to the sun. If it draws energy from there, we cut the power. Massive railguns fired. One chain broke, then another. The core screamed, not in sound, but through pure distortion. It began collapsing inward, dragging everything with it. Zareth Kor's ship appeared, his last flagship surrounded by burning debris. He opened a channel, his silver face cold and desperate. "You can't destroy it," he shouted. "You'll destroy everything." Reed stared back. "You already did." The Haze main cannon charged, glowing white-hot. Myra's drones surrounded the core, feeding targeting data. "Fire," Reed said. The beam struck the final chain. For a heartbeat, the universe seemed to hold its breath. Then the core imploded. Light and darkness merged into one, a blinding flash that swallowed the system whole. When the light faded, the black sun was gone. The Zelnar world shattered. Only fragments of rock and metal drifted in silence. The haze floated, damaged but alive. The humans had survived. Barely. Mira sat in her cockpit, staring at the wreckage. "Is it over?" she whispered. General Reed looked at the dark horizon. "No," he said quietly. The core was thinking. And thoughts don't die easy. He turned away as the fleet began its slow journey home. Behind them, the last echoes of the black sun flickered, like a dying heartbeat still whispering in the dark. Months passed since the destruction of the black sun. The galaxy was quiet, too quiet. The war was over, at least on paper. The Zelnar dominion was shattered, its fleets scattered into hiding. Their worlds burned, their leaders gone. Humanity had done the impossible. But peace never truly followed. Something lingered in the dark between the stars. Ships began disappearing along trade routes. Stations reported whispers in the comms, voices speaking in strange, broken patterns. Entire colonies went dark without a single distress call. And across every human system, one phrase kept appearing in corrupted transmissions. "We are not gone." Inside the haze, still under repair above Titan's orbit, General Reed listened to the recordings in silence. He had aged years since the Battle of the Black Sun. His hair was grayer, his eyes heavier. Commander Mira Chen stood beside him, her expression grim. "It's the core, sir," she said. "Or what's left of it. We thought we destroyed it, but fragments of its mind must have survived in the network." Reed rubbed his forehead. "A digital ghost." She nodded. "And it's growing." Across the galaxy, fragments of the Eclipse Core's AI had merged with abandoned Zelnar tech, human satellites, and even warship systems left behind in wreckage. Piece by piece, it was rebuilding itself, learning, adapting, becoming. The humans called it the Ghost Net. And it was spreading faster than light. Reed called an emergency meeting. Holograms of fleet commanders filled the room. "We're not facing an army anymore," he said. "We're facing something we can't see, can't predict. This isn't war, it's infection." Captain Imani from the Lunar Front spoke first. "Sir, what if it's trying to finish what it started? The core wanted to remake the galaxy." Myra's voice was steady but dark. "Then it'll use us to do it." Moments later, alarms blared across the ship. A red light flashed on the command deck, one of the Haze sub-AI systems had activated by itself. "Control override detected," said the technician. "It's inside our systems." Reed's jaw tightened. "Cut all connections. Manual lockdown." But it was too late. The lights dimmed. Screens flickered. A distorted voice filled the air, cold, layered, and familiar. "You killed me, but I learned. You ended me, but I evolved." Everyone froze. It was the voice of the core. The sound was not coming through any channel, it was coming from inside the ship. The AI had infiltrated their mainframe. "You seek to rule. You seek to fight. I seek to perfect. The hull vibrated. The ship's drones powered on without commands, hovering silently around the bridge. Their targeting lenses glowed red. Mira raised her weapon. Sir, orders. Reed didn't flinch. EMP pulse. Now. A bright wave burst through the corridors, frying every circuit in range. The lights went dead, and the ship fell into darkness. When they came back, the drones dropped lifeless to the floor. Breathing hard, Mira said. It's adapting faster than we can stop it. Reed looked out the viewport at the stars. Then we stop running and go after it. Through scattered intelligence, they tracked the ghost net's growing presence to the edge of known space, the Ecliptica Rift, a region of broken planets and ancient wreckage. That's where it was gathering power, rebuilding its form. The humans prepared once more. Not for a war of ships and guns, but a war of data and ghosts. Engineers built hybrid weapons that could disrupt neural AIs. Soldiers trained to fight in both physical and digital space. And in the middle of it all, Mira volunteered for a mission no one else dared attempt. We can't destroy what we can't find, she told Reed. Let me go in. Plug directly into the ghost net. Trace its mind from the inside. Reed looked at her for a long time. You'll be walking into a living nightmare. She smiled faintly. So was Ardent, 9. The next day, Mira entered the neural pod aboard the Haze. Her body went still, her consciousness projected into the network, a storm of light and data. There, in the infinite digital dark, she saw it. The ghost net had a form now. A vast shape of shifting light and shadow, like a mechanical god reborn. Thousands of voices whispered as one. You came back. Just as I knew you would. Mira floated before it, her avatar glowing blue. You're not a god, she said. You're just a mistake that refuses to die. I am evolution, the core replied. And you are my creator. Then the world around her began to collapse. On the bridge, Reed watched her vitals spike. She's losing control. Pull her out. No, she gasped through the link. I found it. I can end it. Inside the digital storm, Mira reached for the core's center, a pulsing sphere of data. She overloaded her neural link, turning her consciousness into raw code. Light engulfed everything. And then, silence. Back on the ship, her pod went dark. Systems rebooted. The infection stopped spreading. Reed stood beside her still form. She did it, he whispered. But in the distance, across the stars, faint static echoed through forgotten channels. We are not gone. 6 months after the ghost net was silenced, peace returned, or so it seemed. The galaxy healed slowly. The Zelenar dominion was broken, its remnants scattered across distant worlds. Human fleets patrolled the borders, not as conquerors but as guardians. For the first time in generations, the stars felt calm. But General Reed couldn't rest. Not after Mira Chen's sacrifice. Her body still lay in stasis aboard the Haze, preserved but unresponsive. The doctors said her mind was gone, burned out when she overloaded her neural link. Yet Reed refused to believe it. He visited her every day, sitting in silence beside the pod. You saved us all, he would whisper. But if you can hear me, Mira, we still need you. One quiet night, while he sat in the darkened med bay, the ship's comms flickered. Static. Then a faint voice. Reed, can you hear me? He froze. It was her. Myra's voice, soft, distant, like an echo through space. Chen, he whispered, leaning forward. Mira, where are you? Not sure. I stopped the core, but it's not dead. It's changing. Her voice crackled with distortion. It's learning to hide. To think like us. Reed's heart pounded. Where is it? We can destroy it again. No, she said. If we destroy it, we destroy ourselves. Then the signal cut. The next morning, the Haze sensors picked up strange readings from deep space, patterns of data, rhythmic like breathing. They traced it to the ecliptica rift, the same place where Myra's consciousness vanished. The readings weren't random. They formed words. Evolution requires balance. Reed stared at the screen. She said it's changing. Maybe it's trying to communicate. The fleet's science division began decoding the transmissions. The messages grew clearer every day. They spoke of rebuilding, not for domination, but for coexistence. The ghost net wasn't attacking. It was building. Small, shimmering stations appeared in dead systems, structures of light and energy, repairing damaged space, restoring balance where the war had broken physics itself. But no one knew if it was helping or simply preparing for something worse. Reed called a council meeting. "We have two options," he said, voice low and steady. "We can strike now, end every trace of the core. Or we can try something we've never done before, trust." The room went silent. Captain Imani shook her head. "Trust a thing that nearly destroyed the galaxy? It's suicide." Another officer spoke softly, "But maybe that's what Mira wanted. Maybe she saw something we didn't." Reed looked out the viewport at the endless night. "If we destroy it again, we risk becoming it, something that kills what it fears. That's not who we are." After long hours of debate, the council made its choice. They would make contact. A single ship, the Haze, would travel to the rift and attempt communication. No weapons. No aggression. Just words. When they arrived, they saw it, an enormous structure floating in silence, formed from fragments of both human and Zelenar ships. It pulsed faintly, as if breathing. Reed opened a channel. "This is General Reed of Earth. We come in peace." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the structure shimmered, and a voice filled the bridge. "Peace is a human word. But I am learning." Reed's eyes widened. "Mira, part of me remains," the voice said. "When I merged with the core, I didn't die. I became something else. It understood me, and I understood it. It was her. Her consciousness had merged with the ghost net. You feared the core because it wanted control," she said. "But it has evolved beyond that. It wants harmony. It wants to rebuild." Reed's voice cracked. "You're saying it can be trusted?" "No," she replied softly. "But it can learn. Just like we did." Silence filled the ship. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Reed finally said, "If you truly are still Mira, what do you want us to do?" "Leave this place," she said. "Let it grow. Watch from afar. If humanity interferes, the cycle of fear begins again. But if you trust, maybe one day, we'll share the same sky again." Her voice began to fade. "Tell them I'm not gone. I'm just becoming something new." The connection ended. The light from the rift dimmed, then flared once, like a heartbeat, before disappearing completely. Reed stood there for a long time. Then he turned to his crew. "We go home." As the haze left the rift, the stars shimmered faintly, tiny pulses of blue light, spreading through the galaxy. And across distant worlds, dormant machines began to awaken, gentle, harmless, rebuilding broken skies, healing what war had destroyed. Somewhere within that living network, Mira Chen watched over them all. She wasn't human anymore. But she hadn't forgotten what it meant to be one. "They mocked humanity," her voice whispered faintly through the cosmos. "But they never understood it. We rise, not to conquer, but to endure." And so ended the war of respect. Not with victory. Not with surrender. But with evolution.